Okay. Hello. Good day. Hello. Nice to see you. Hello. Okay. um. So, what to say? This is it. This is what apparently happens. It's all there is. There is no additional realization to what happens. This would be part of the dream, that there is someone who could still get something, arrive somewhere, become transcended, or anything like that. There just is no such thing. And the whole impression to be someone who is on a path, the whole impression to be someone who is separate, who is on a path towards the actual, would this is what we would very superficially regard as the dream. That's the illusion, so to speak. This felt assumption to be someone who is present now, here. It's exactly that which is the base, so to speak, the basis of all seeking, of all ideas, conclusions about reality, of all ideas about how it is, and of course, all the ideas of methods, practices, disciplines, how to do life, what's important, what's not important, and all that stuff. Of course, it all mirrors back to me, important for me, the right or wrong way to live for me, the right or wrong practice for me, in order to reach at this future point of fulfillment. All of that doesn't exist, because in the end, it's exactly that first impression to be separate and the unfulfillment that seems to come out of it, which is illusory already. It's a dream. Um, in that sense, separation is kind of a dreamed reality. And what we talk about is not, um, it's exactly not about finding the right way to live. It's exactly not about getting answers. There are no answers. And this message, this non-message, also is not an answer. There is no answer to the seeking energy, so to speak. There isn't any possibility for the seeking energy to stop seeking and becoming a having found energy. Seen from the apparent person, this message just points to death. It just points to me already not being existing, which is actually even worse than death. In the person's idea, death is still something which might happen, but but there is no one alive in the first place. There is no one separate. There is no illusion running. There is no one to wake up from anything, from a dream, or from a limited reality to a bigger reality. Because it's exactly that setup of experiencing, which in the story is the prison. That's the prison. But on the other hand, what's being said here, the prison itself does not exist. There is no prison. Those were the good news, basically. So there is no need for anything. There's no need to say anything. There's no need to ask. There's no need to answer anything. All of that would just be what apparently happens, which is utterly whole and complete, of course. So in case you want to say something or comment, please just turn on your microphone and speak, or alternatively, you can write in the chat. And I'd start with the first question in the chat. Exactly. Sometimes you can't read the questions because people write private messages to me. Okay, a question. Hello, Andreas. What can you say about the prayers? Can you pray to a God that doesn't exist? Thank you. Yeah, exactly. That's a bit difficult, so to speak. Yeah. I mean, in a way, you would just need to do that. That's the thing. I'm here, and God is somewhere out there. And one method that may give me something is to pray. Usually, it actually causes some feeling of relaxation to having spoken about one's own desperations, and so it's a method that seems to work to some degree, but of course work only within the personal story, within the illusion. So yeah, in that sense, how the person would assume what prayer is, this isn't really possible. It's part of the dream. Okay, question. Could you kindly comment on the words, be still and know that I am God? Yeah. Well, it could be two things. On the one hand, the person would understand it as a as something that one could do or be. In the end, one could say, well, when there is no one, there is kind of that which seeks isn't there anymore, which kind of means that it is still, and what's left is God, so to speak. But I wouldn't say it like that, because usually the person thinks it's a thing that it can do, to come to a silent state and to somehow be convinced that I am God or that everything is God. And that's basically what never really works out.
Hi, Andreas.
Hello. So just it wouldn't be. It's always hard to say what was meant by it, but I wouldn't say it like that. But in some way, it may point to the utter simplicity that there actually is nothing to do, and there is no one doing anything. But I wouldn't say it like that. Okay.
Because I realized one day that in spiritualism, they say that everything is one. So you need to get there to realize, it's not like to get that state where everything is one. And
yes, exactly.
And then I realized that it's really, it's like if you say then that day, but it was really a relaxing moment when I realized that if everything is already is how it is, so it's really another way around.
Oh yes, absolutely.
You don't need to get anything anywhere. And
yes.
It's same with the praying. If you pray and you want to get something, or something should be different, and it goes like that. God has heard your pray, but it doesn't happen. There's something you need to learn about it.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, but it's an interesting way to how in the spiritualism and in religions they always turn it like if everything just happens without any reason, but in every way, anyway, there is something you need to learn or need to get, or if it's God's will, then it just happens.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's what basically all religions say, that you to some degree can personally realize God, but you still have to do it. You
Yeah.
can come close to God. You can have a better relationship to Him. You can become God. You can, but you still have to do it. Like you said in the beginning, you have to become one. You have to do something in order to consciously see oneness or to come to a state of oneness or stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what basically all religions are about. And in the end, on the other hand, they think that there is something like a happy state, that fulfillment, closeness to God, seeing the truth is some kind of a happy state. That's why most religions offer techniques to make you feel good for a few moments, and thinking that there's some kind of connection between being in a wholeness state or in a state of oneness and feeling happy.
Yeah, because that day when I realized this, comprehending with spiritualism, I realized that there's nothing I can do. So, and it's how was it? It was because I realized that if there should be nothing I need to do or could do, it couldn't be free. And I really felt relaxing, because it's not a depressing moment when you realize that you can't do anything, because it's for the freedom. It was really wow. Well,
Yes.
I feel like came that, yeah. And I'm not the lazy one. I'm just enjoying the freedom.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, having no choice is freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I realized also that unconditional love couldn't happen if there is no freedom.
They go together. Yeah. Freedom and love is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you. For the person, freedom and love are two separate things. Either there's love and kind of security and comfort, or there's freedom and adventure and all of that stuff. But they are one, so to speak. Okay, question. How can self-inquiry lead to having insights on the fact that there is no me? Well, that's a good question, but in the end, my impression is that's the best thing you can get from self-inquiry, insights in that there is no me, but usually there is someone left having had that insight, and then of course trying to integrate it or to have it again, or again to try to be convinced that there actually is no one and all that stuff. So as I would regard it, self-inquiry, seen from the person, is just another method which leads to a conclusion. So it doesn't really have anything to do with liberation in that sense. But of course, in a very funny way, the person can't look for itself and not find itself. But as I said, like with any method, the one who does it usually survives it. So you just end up being you, having seen that there actually is no one. But again, it immediately turns into some kind of knowledge, because you have seen it that there is no one. So you end up knowing, actually there is no one. But still you are left with the assumption, okay, but now I gotta do being no one. How is that gonna happen? Maybe I should ask myself again. So, yeah. Hello, Andreas. Nice to see you and listen to nothing. Yes, great. Nice to see you. Hello. Okay, it feels, next question, it feels that the energy is much stronger as we are listening with a lot of beings. Is that a dream? Well, I can't say anything about that if it is like that, but if you have that impression, that's what apparently happens. And it can't be said. Is it a dream? Is it real? Is it wholeness? Is it wrong? Is it an illusion? Who would know that? There is no answer to, is that a dream, basically? Or there is no answer to what it is. Hi, and next question. Hi, Andreas. Is there a need to plan at all? For example, searching for the right job to support your family. Isn't thinking and planning necessary for these reasons? Well, yes. I mean, yes and no, because in the end, nothing is really needed. But the good news is that thinking and planning just happens. It's what naturally happens by itself. So there is no one who has to do it. Usually, seen from the person, the artificial struggle is thinking that I, as a separate person, have to do it, that it is needed for me to come through life in order to, in the end, survive and become a fulfilled person or to live long. So that would be the dream, but thinking and planning, there's absolutely no problem with that. I do that all the time. Planning, apparently it's whole and complete. There isn't anyone doing that, of course, but yeah, nothing wrong with planning.
Andreas, would you say that motivation and the torture you put yourself through for not being motivated, motivation just happens, as you just said? Is that it's just a byproduct?
One could say so. I mean, it's always a bit hard to describe because for seen from the person, those things like motivation and planning and thinking, there are some kind of always connected with this whole personal idea of I have to do life. There is a right or wrong way to do life. The outcome, there has to be a certain outcome in order for it and all that stuff. So in a way, that would be all part of the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And also motivation. The person, in a way, would always connect motivation with its personal goals. So I'm motivated to do something if I see what it's for.
Uh-huh. So motivation's really just an interpretation of action.
Absolutely. One could say so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I can't say that I'm motivated to do the talks or whatever I like to do. In a way, it just is what happens. And
right.
That there is not the feeling of really of I want to do it, I have to do it. And there also is no real feeling of pushing it through, that I have to push anything through for a special reason.
Okay.
Yes, sometimes things can be exhausting or more fun or less fun and all that stuff. But all of that would just be what apparently happens. It would be all of that would be all right.
So the me creates a story around all of those things and calls some guilt driven, some motivated, motivation or whatever. So it's just constantly just creating this big story around what happens. And
one could say so, yes, absolutely. And that is its only reality, its story, its experience, and its story about what seems to go on seems to be its reality.
Okay. It's clever. The me is very clever.
Well, it just is what it is. The thing is, it's not consciously doing that. So if we say the me's doing that, the me's doing that, that's of course a story, because that just is what apparently happens when there seems to be the illusion of being a person. It's not really doing it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next comment. You said freedom and love is the same thing. Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. And next question. Would you say everything what happens is uncontrollable, chaotic energy? Yes, kind of. It's uncontrollable, chaotic, no thing. It's not a certain energy, but yes, of course. The thing is that there just isn't anything that controls. Neither a person within every one of us, or a God out there, or a divine energy behind anything. There just isn't someone in control. In that sense, everything is uncontrolled. Yes. So there is no one doing sitting in front of a screen. There is no one doing listening to these, to me speaking. There is no energy behind it doing the whole thing. Yeah. In that sense, it's chaotic. But already. But in a sense, of course, chaotic already is a story, because there is no real reality to be chaotic. But yeah. Okay, next question. There's always that paradox I'm struggling with, which is that on one hand, there is no me, and on the other hand, it seems to make a difference, like spiritual seeking, for example. Can you elaborate on that? Well, in a way, that's the paradox the person assumes itself to be in. And the paradox is that the person's experience is I'm real and separate and having free will and choice and all those things, by exactly that presence doesn't exist. Okay, there was an add up, meaning that how can something which doesn't exist have an impact at all? That's the thing. It doesn't have an impact. It just is what apparently happens. So if the illusion of self-consciousness is what apparently happens, it apparently happens with all the consequences, meaning an experience of unfulfillment, meaning trying to fulfill that unfulfillment and all those things. But there isn't a real impact on something. There aren't two realities. There isn't you or the illusion of you impacting a separate happening, because the whole thing just is what apparently happens. But as I say, with all consequences. So if a tree, it's a bit conceptual, but if a tree is what apparently happens, there's full on a tree. If you have a flower, it's full on a flower. So if you have apparently someone assuming themselves to be someone, that's what apparently happens. And of course, one could say when that illusion drops, something else seems to be happening. But again, the whole processing of that story is only able for that which experiences itself to be separate. So again, the only thing which lives in those differences is the person, which starts making differences by itself, saying I'm me, I'm different from anything else. and suddenly you get the whole thing, that a tree is different from a flower, and that a flower is different from the ground, and that the ground is different from a person, and that seeking is different from not seeking. But of course, the person seems to be struggling with something. That's its experience, and it can't be solved. The person will never solve its basic dilemma, to experience itself as real and not be real. There is no answer to that. This will never be solved within the setup of the person. But of course, nothing is real and everything is what it is, apparently. Thank you. Okay, next question. I can hardly comment. But to that people which experience seeing the Virgin of Mary or Jesus, can you comment on that? Well, no, I can't. What's the question? What's the question? Is this real or is this not real, or what about them? And there is no answer to what it is. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what a Zoom meeting with Andreas is. So how could I know about the people who see those guys? Sorry. It is what it is. It's neither right nor wrong. Oh, no, I was joking. It's no, sorry. Don't say sorry. It's all right. I just don't know. There is no answer. I wouldn't necessarily say they are liars, whatever they saw and whatever they think. I don't know. Next question. I feel a lack of motivation for everything I do. Like there's a feeling that everything's a dream. Oh yes, that can happen. It can happen that even for the person, kind of things turn out to be empty. That things don't hold what they promised or what they seemed to have promised, namely some kind of personal gain. So if that becomes quite obvious that there is nothing to gain from things, there may be a lack of motivation in the story. Yeah, that's all right. And the next one, beautiful mathematical patterns seem to emerge. Yes. Next question. Why do you have such enthusiasm to spread a message that has no meaning and no sense? Well, to be honest, one could say that's pure luck. That while talking about the message, it's also fun for me. I don't know. There is no reason for that. No. Enthusiasm also is kind of, I don't know if I would call it enthusiasm, because there is really no intention or agenda behind. But there seems to be joy around it. Yeah. But in the end, I don't know. Could be something else. It could feel differently. and I could do something completely different. It's just what happens, just how it turned out. Next question. You mean it's fun to talk about this? Well, yes and no, because it can be fun while it happens, but there is no rule that it's fun to talk about this. It's not, there isn't an issue. You can't set it up and say, oh, I like going to the movies and I like to talk about. No, I don't. I don't have that story in mind, but usually when there are people interested, there seems to be some kind of dynamic going on, which is fun. Yeah, I don't know. You can't plan it. It's not, it's not philosophy. I can't say, oh, I'd like to talk about non-duality. And usually I don't talk about it at all. And if there wouldn't be anyone interested, there would be no need to bring it up anywhere. It's not even really an issue. It's not a story that I live in during my day. And everyone who can't run quickly have to get gets a monologue from my side about there being no one and stuff. so so there isn't really an intention on my side, or that I have stored this about, oh, this is fun, I want to do it. No, not at all. Not at all. It just somehow turned out that I offer those talks, and it's all right, of course. Okay, next question. Can't stand someone. Apparently, for example, can happen for you? Well, oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, why not? Well, it's a bit strong. Can't stand someone. Yeah. Next question is, are flow states similar to know me? No, not really, because as you said, they are kind of flow states. So, no. Because usually a flow state, so to speak, is something that is experienced here and now. So the person exactly knows what it is when it flows and what it is when it doesn't flow. And of course, seen from the person, both are recognized as such, and both are experienced to be really about what's really going on, things flowing and things not working. question. If I understand everything, but is still a me. Well, I would doubt that you understand everything. But yes, of course, understanding. I'm sorry. But yes, understanding is the person, so to speak. Because there is nothing to understand. That's the thing. The person assumes itself to be to live in a real reality with circumstances and things and processes and concepts and of how it is, which I can understand. So there just isn't anything that can be really understood. There is no reality to be understood. And of course, one could say the person, maybe you mean you can understand the concepts that seem to be spoken of here. The person can kind of accept more or less the concept of there being not a separate person, for example, and make pictures about what that means, like everything is like a robot, or like everything is like a plant or tree. Just so these are all concepts, and yes, the person can kind of understand the concepts of, but there's just, as I say, it would just be still the impression to be someone who lives in a separate reality, who can somehow understand this reality. But exactly that's the illusion, so to speak. So sitting in front of a screen and being you and being me and being all to do with understanding. It's not something that can be or needs to be understood. Yes. Question. What I find surprising is that a lot of practices like meditation or self-inquiry seem to bring about realizations which point to what you're saying, like emptiness or no self, for example. And yet they remain personal experiences, somehow unrelated to what you're sharing. Yes, one could say so. Yeah, yeah. And it is kind of surprising, but as you say, there's always someone there who experiences this. Yes. On the other hand, one could say, while the person is doing practices, it kind of already knows what the outcome should be. So in a very funny way, the person is constantly checking if this experience is kind of close to what I've read before. So of course, when there's the bigger story in some religions, like everything is empty, and then you start meditating, of course you have the subtle expectation that some kind of that experience should be the outcome. So yes, on the one hand, there are all kinds of realizations and experiences, but they are all for someone. And as I said, in the end, they're also kind of expected. Okay, next question. This is also a personal experience. I mean, this talk, well, it absolutely isn't. But yes, as long as there is the sense to be a person, this person will assume that it experiences a talk going on. Yeah, yes. So seen from the person, everything is only an experience. Seen from the person, apparently everything seems to be only experienced, including this talk. Of course. Oh yeah, of course. Yes. But not that it is an experience. It's unknowable. what it is unknowable. What you experiencing a talk is unknowable. Or you having the illusion of experiencing a talk. It's unknowable. No one knows if there's an experience going on. It goes on. It makes this realization so misleading because they can look alike what you're saying to 99.9% and yet be completely off the mark. Well, yes and no. Yes and no, because in a way the person is already experiencing like that. So it's not just a spiritual experience, it's also in day-to-day life and stuff. So when you get more money for the person, it can also feel like the next step towards its goal, thinking that to be a really, really rich person will bring about some kind of fulfillment. So the person kind of always lives in that paradigm that it believes to do something and that what it does creates happy experiences. So it's not exactly that those realizations are misleading. They are just part of the personal experience. Yes, of course, seen from the person, the hope is that, or they seem to promise something. I understand, of course. But as I say, there isn't really an escape from that within the personal setup. And I know what you mean when you say they look like what I'm saying for 99.9%, but in the end, there is just no connection. Because the story of the person is, oh, this was so close. In this moment, I really felt the emptiness of everything. But in the end, it has absolutely no connection to what's being spoken of here, because there was just someone experiencing something, which the person thought, oh, that's close. That's closer to what I experience usually, and it's very close to what I've read in the book. But there isn't really a connection because it's just someone experiencing something. Which is all right. There's nothing, there isn't even wrong with that. I don't say that that's wrong, but it just remains within that cycle of being a person. Okay. Next question. The love story in fantasizing, especially with a spiritual teacher, can be a safety desire. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, with spirituality, usually there can be the idea that it's for many people it's more intense than a love relationship. Where the assumption is that there is this one person who can give me personal fulfillment. And of course, there can be all kinds of games around this spiritual teacher story. Like in relationships, the assumption is that the other one can make me happy. But of course, in spirituality, the story can be much more loaded because it's about the absolute love and God. And the spiritual teacher can look like as if he's God himself, and that I have to make him happy or adore him or do something to him because he may give me something. It's a story. It's a total story, of course. It's like a romantic love story, which is also based on this deep need to get something, to become something or to get something, and the assumption that there is someone who can give it to me. It's a story. There is no one. There are no teachers. There are no partners, which is a bit more sad, but there isn't anyone who can give something to anyone. The next comment is, seeking is apparently hiding what is looked for. Yes, kind of. Not that there is anything to see really, but of course, the seeking energy is actually like an attempt to run away from what is, hoping to escape what is and to arrive in the next. So just to the realizations, yeah, that's what I meant. They're always experienced or known. Exactly, yes. In that sense, there's just no connection to what we speak about here, so to speak. Okay, next one. As long as the experience of a self is here, it's so hopeless. Yes, but without the experience of there being a self, it's also hopeless. It's not that suddenly it gets, it's not that suddenly hope sneaks in. No, it is hopeless. That's, of course. Knowing that nothing helps is very hard for the me, which tries to find a way out. Yes, that's true. Yeah. The suffering seems very real. Trying to see it's not real doesn't help at all. Yes, exactly, because nothing helps. Because it is hopeless. Because nothing helps. And of course, you trying to really see that you can't really, that you are not real, it doesn't work. It's a contradiction. And of course, one could say, of course, it doesn't help to see that nothing is real because there is no real seeing in the first place. Of course, there's all, of course. Yes, it is hopeless. Yes, there is no real seeing of anything. Yes, there is no realization of any kind. Yes, there is no salvation. Yes, there is no way out. Of course, yeah, that's just how it apparently is. But this can't be known. Knowing those sentences also isn't a way out, because there is no way out. Absolutely. This is it. How you are, how I am, how it apparently is. There isn't anything else. Okay, next question I don't really understand. It belongs to the spiritual teacher thing. And give you the impression that you fall in love. That is the one. Can be real also? I don't understand that question. But of course, seen from the person, the impression to be someone seems to be real. That there is a guru or a teacher. There is no one to rely on. And there is no one to rely on anything in here. And there is no one outside to rely on. Oh, absolutely. Of course. Yes, exactly. There's nothing to rely on. Yeah. In a sense of this gives me something. This adds something to me on my path towards fulfillment. That's actually what the person wants to rely on. That somewhere something is real, something is finally true, something that guarantees that I'll be happy, something that guarantees that I am, something that guarantees that there is hope, that I can do it, or that there is goodness or salvation or anything like that. There is nothing to rely on. Freedom is no if. Yes, it's unconditional. What is unconditionally itself. That's the freedom. For no one, of course. Well, question is, my golf game has apparently improved when there is no me. Yeah, that sounds very good. Unfortunately, there's no one there to enjoy it either, but all right, sounds good. Maybe you are not there anymore, tries to do play golf. Now you're just playing golf. Well, next question. Is the way out of the helpless situation of the me to go through everything that happens, to feel it unconditionally, to experience it 100%? Well, if you could still do that, it completely wouldn't be helpless. No, there is no way out. There is no you to do anything. There is no you to feel everything unconditionally and 100% in order to find a way out. No, there's absolutely no way out of what apparently happens. And it would be another assumption that you, or that there is someone who can take on that position, or who can take on that inner way of being. Everything already happens unconditionally, so to speak. Everything already is 100% exactly as it is. Next question. Francis from Assisi said, what you are looking for is what is looking. Yes. Yeah, I found it a bit complicated, but yes. You won't take a step. There is no step to take. There is no movement. And of course, all there is what apparently happens.
Hello, Andreas.
Hello.
Sorry, there might be a noise. Just now you said there's no way out. There's no way out of this freedom, which is just empty. There's no one in it.
Yes, basically it's good news that there's no way out, but
There's no way out of this freedom.
oh yes, of course.
There's no one in it, in this freedom, no one in it.
Well, exactly that would be the dream. That's the personal experience, that I'm now here and that somehow I'm surrounded by this separate reality. I'm surrounded by my own body, I'm surrounded by my thoughts, by my feelings, that I'm surrounded, there is something called my life in a real world and other, exactly, and that I have to make my way through that I'm separate, and that I have to consciously make my way through life, which is basically kind of an escape. I have to very quickly move on to the next moment by me being in the right way. Yeah, it's a total dream. There is no one in it to do anything to escape it.
In a way, we can say it is actually timelessly in the flow, even if it's seemingly getting stuck, it is still.
Absolutely. Yes.
That
Again,
is the ultimate freedom.
oh, that is the freedom, exactly. The flow isn't anything one has to do. How it is, exactly how it is, with all the apparent breaks, and this is the flow. It's already flowing all the time. Yes. Timelessly, without direction, of course. It's not flowing in a certain direction.
No.
But yes.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's no one imprisoned in what is.
No, never anyone in it. Never anyone in it.
There is no one imprisoned by thoughts, by feelings, by actions, by the weather, by tasks.
Whatever.
Whatever, exactly, yeah.
Sorry for the noise. Power is working.
Ah, all right. Cool. A question, is there no movement because it's always just this? No, because this is unrelated. One could say because there just isn't a real happening going on in time and space. So there is neither movement nor stillness. This isn't just this. No, it's just that it can't be explained. But there's nothing really going on. Or when it's to say the other way around, the only thing that has the impression or which operates in those two realities is the person. Because the person would say, well, I'm kind of still, I'm a center, I'm always here, and the rest is moving within my awareness. The rest is passing within my awareness. Or I'm passing on through time. I'm happening in time and space. So without that, there's just, without the experience of anything, there's just neither movement nor something which is still. So the whole impression of things going on, of moving forward in time, just belongs to the person. Nothing moves on. But as I say, I of course wouldn't say that it's always this. Of course, there is no right or wrong way to say it, but for the persons connected, it's like, this, next this, no, always this, the next moment, the next moment. That's how the person would experience. Yes, Andreas. Exactly. And okay. And if there's no movement, how is there flow? Yes, there is no real flow. That's why I was just adding without direction. It's not flowing somewhere. It's timelessly itself. It's both. It's moving, but not moving on. It's, it's unknowable. I mean, when we talk about it, it's sitting in front of a screen. We don't speak about some weird, hidden some hidden reality. It's this. It's somehow moving, but not going anywhere. But on the other hand, it's still, but not frozen. But who knows that? Who sees that? It's just words. Okay, last comment. Andreas, everything you are saying seems to be very logical. Yeah, that's right. It seems to be very logical. But still there is a sense of being me. Yes, exactly. That's the unlogical part. It's not a thought or a belief. It's a sense in the body. Yes, that's what apparently happens. And it seems and it feels real, but it completely isn't real. This message is not logical. It's not logical at all. The concepts seem to be logical until a certain point, until it's said, but nothing of that is real. Everything is so logical, it makes total sense, but I'm still me. And there is no answer. It's not logical. Sitting in front of a screen is not logical. Listening to this message is not logical. Being you, being me, being everyone else is not logical. There is no answer to this. There is no real experience of this. There is no message. All those words don't say anything. All those words are empty. But on the other hand, they are apparently happening. This is not logical. It can't be understood. How it is, if it is, why it is not, it can't be answered. It's not logical. Nothing is logical. In that sense, this is it. There's nothing to get, nothing to do, nothing to not do. There is no one in the first place. What apparently happens, is just naturally whole and complete. It's itself, without an answer, without processing, without being understood, without even being experienced and recognized. Sitting in front of a screen doesn't recognize itself. It just is itself. And by being so, it's naturally whole and complete. Thank you very much. I wish you
Thank
a
you.
wonderful day.
Thank you, Andreas.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Andreas.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Maybe just briefly, tomorrow will be an afternoon in German, and in English, I will go on Monday, same time. Okay, thank you. See you.
Thank you, Andreas.
Thank you.
Nice
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.